Hey, good morning, friends. I pray you are well this morning, and it all is good on this high day, this Maundy, Thursday. We're going to talk about that a bit as we're working our way through Holy Week. I hope you are having a great day. I hope there's goodness in it. Good morning, Irene. How are you? Hey, Robin. So glad to see you here. That is a great encouragement, seeing your digital little face pop up. Karen, how are you this morning? I hope you're doing well. Irene, great to see you. I saw our little picture of baby Charlotte the other day. Amazingly beautiful, as they all are, but so glad for you. John, good morning to you. I hope all in New Hampshire is great. Vicki, I pray you're well. I hope to see your face soon. Hope you're doing all right. Donna, good morning. Hello, hello. Good morning. I hope all is well with you. Oh, excellent. Good news. Good news, everybody. The cutest baby ever. As you should say. That's great. Good morning, everybody. We'll give it one. I see a couple more people coming along, and we'll get going on this high Thursday. Glad that you are here. I hope that your preparations for this weekend and for all that is happening are coming along well. We're that you have as a part of your journey through these next 3 days a way to hold up the power and the specialness of them. But Vicki, if you come and you cry at Easter, that is the right response. That is really I hope you will let this church be a place for you to bring both your joy and your exultation in the resurrection, but also your tears. So anyway, I put that invitation to you. I'm sorry your heart's hurting. Good morning, Sandra. Great to see you. Glad you're here. Thanks for being a part of this journey. So, all right, friends, let us, on this day, move to the high moments of what we're discussing and what we're a part of. That this is what is called Maundy Thursday. Now, Maundy takes its name from the Latin mandatum, which means commandment. So it's about the high point of this day is the new commandment that Jesus gives the disciples, that Jesus gives all the world, that Jesus gives all that will come after, to love one another as I have loved you. To stand in that place from the Gospel of John where he says, I no longer call you servant, I no longer call you slave, I call you friend, where we have this chance and this opportunity not to be commanded by God, not to live in a particular way in which to make sure we hit all of the right Arthur Murray dance steps, to make sure that we do the hokey pokey in the correct way, but that we are called into relationship. We're called into a face-to-face relationship with the one who made us. That's the high invitation of this day. But there's a lot more of this happening, and there's a lot more that's going on. And so as we move into this day, and this is a part of what I want to pull out of the journey of this day. And some people say this happens late on Wednesday. Some people say it happens early on Thursday. There's competing things in the timeline. But somewhere around this day, if you listen to the Gospel of Luke, Satan enters Judas. There's this moment in which Satan enters Judas, where Judas, who has kind of, we can kind of get inklings from his past behavior of holding the purse and stealing from the purse and things like this, that he maybe had not created himself to be a great vessel of the divine through his actions and through the life that he was living and through the way in which he was a part of his covenant with the disciples. But he comes to this Thursday, and Satan enters Judas. Now, we can talk about what that means, or maybe what you think that means, or what I think that means. I mean, I think there's ways, but there's this notion of kind of being taken over by the pain, being taken over by the broken, being taken over by the passions, being taken over by the lusts, being taken over by all the things that are happening, that would beseech us and come upon us. You know, I mentioned this a little while ago. There's a great that in Gaelic, if you were saying someone was sad, the way you would say it in Gaelic is that you would say the sadness was upon him, which I think is beautiful, because we can say the rage was upon us, the anger was upon us, the shame was upon us. That I think this is a much better way of talking about these things and thinking about these things than necessarily the way, and that's the way the ancients thought about them. And I think, you know, with all apologies to Mr. Descartes, and you know, I think therefore I am, I think they had it right. These things are not ours. These things they come upon us. They set upon us. I think anybody who's ever struggled with depression understands this notion of the noonday demon that stands in the middle of the room and torments you and stares at you and knows that it is there. This, whatever is going on and however it all works, I'm not making that claim. What I'm making is the claim is that our lived experience is way more like what those in Gaelic were those ancients were talking about when they say the sadness is upon him, or the heaviness, or the rage, or the depression. And that when we read in Bible that Satan enters Jesus Satan enters Judas in this day, in this hour, in the beginning of this day, we come to this point where we understand that these things that are upon us are exactly forever. No hurricane time and in this place are a part of a journey where these things might come upon us, and they might be hard, and they may be painful, and they might be brutal, but they will end. And that what I think this day teaches us, among all the other things that it has to offer us, the preparations of the meals that Peter and John will go out, this whole thing idea of prepping and preparing for Jesus's place, this notion of permitting our feet to be washed by Jesus, that Jesus might take away those things that are beset us and that come upon us, that even in the heart of betrayal, we are not alone in God's knowing of that betrayal. As we see Jesus' suffering in the garden, that Jesus knows that the hurt of our hearts and of our bodies and of our being. But what I want to lift out today, and of all the things that we could talk about in this is what I want to talk about, and what I want to lift out, and what I want to hold to you, is that early in this day, early on a Monday, Thursday, early on this Holy Thursday, early on the moment when the beginning of what will become the Triduum, these 3 holy days unfold, in the beginning of this, Satan enters Judas. And then Jesus has dinner with Judas. I think the promise of this day, the promise of this new commandment, that I no longer call you servant, but I call you friend, is this invitation, is this reality that we're no longer separate, and that our struggles are no longer separate from Christ Jesus and from the things from the way in which we are called to negotiate these things that beset us. Whether it is physical illness, whether it is a pained heart, whether it is a troubled mind, whatever it is that has come upon us, as the ancients would say, Christ Jesus is in the middle of it with us, is in the center, in fact, at the table, sharing the very bowl in which we eat. Think about that. If we're drinking a bitter cup, so too is Christ in the midst of that with us, sustaining us, inviting us into wholeness, inviting us into wellness, keeping back that which would even seek to destroy us all the more, in the fight and as a part of the journey in which we are called to pick up our cross and yet overcome death itself, walking in this way that Christ has given us, to come home, to be known, to be loved beyond measure, to be brought up even at the most sinful and most broken places we can imagine. And I think Judas probably wins the record on that. He stands in this place, dips his bread with Jesus, and Jesus eats with him. And in the ancient world, eating together was an incredibly intimate thing. It wasn't something you did with everybody. It was a thing that you did because it took hours, and it was this kind of feast that laid itself out before the people. You didn't sit in a chair. Chair sitting didn't come for 1,000 years. You laid down and you were there, close to your friends and with them, and that there were ways in which you were part of their lives and they were a part of theirs, and the inevitable sharing that happened in the midst of all of that, all of it. And Jesus, there at the table with Judas, who at this hour Satan had entered. Friends, I don't know what your brokenness is. I don't know what the thing, the little devil that afflicts you, that you seem to not be able to shake, that seems to be upon you. Like the ancients of old, the sadness that is upon you, the hurt that is upon you, whatever it is that is upon you, know that has not separated you from God. That has not brought you. But it brings you. But even there, Jesus himself sits with you at the table and invites you to sup with him. Invites you to be his friend. Invites you into connection. Invites you and draws you near. There's nothing so dark in you. There's nothing so broken in you. There's nothing so painful in you. There's nothing so afflicting of you that Christ will not sit with you in it and will not seek to heal you of it and will not invite you to his table again and again and again. It's my belief this is the promise of this day. This is the promise of this mandatum, this new commandment to love one another as I've loved you, that this new invitation to not be a slave any longer, but to be a friend in the highest and most perfect way. When we sing that old hymn, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," it is so shoe-worn at this point. It can be so rote at this point. And yet that hymn was written in the midst of incredible human pain. The author of that hymn had lost friends, had lost children, was suffering incredible grief. And yet in the midst of his grief, in the midst of his pain, he turned his heart to understand that there was a friendship that would never, even if the devil himself enters us, that would never abandon us, that no darkness that would blot out the light of the world. And so that's what I hope as we come to the table tonight. After we're done here, we're going to start to prepare this table that's right behind me for our feast this evening, and for the deepening of the story that happens today, and the deepening of the walk of what opens in these next 3 days, that this becomes the doorway in which we get to enter the story for the next 72 hours. We get to enter the life and the breath and the struggle and the crushing and the rising up from that crushing that restores the world, that restores you and I, and that brings all things to the very table of God to be made new. So I hope you'll enter into this time, friends. I hope you'll take this journey. I hope you'll walk in this way to just keep it before you as you go through these days, and let God show up. Let Jesus pop in on you. Let these moments of this high story, this greatest story ever told, unfold to you in beauty and grace and wonder. Because the reality of truth and the reality of logos, or however you want to say it, is that things that are the most true, we can't really talk about. We can't even really understand. The things that are most true, we live out, right? If I'm a partner with somebody, I live that out. That's the only way it's true. If I am a parent to someone, I live that out. I can talk about my affection for a child. I can talk about, all of those things. But it's only our walking it out. It is our participating in it that makes it, that brings the truth of it into reality. The most true things, friends, the most true stories of our life are not the things that we talk about, or not the things we think about. They're not even things we feel. They are the things we participate in and that we walk out. And so for the next 72 hours, for this journey to the cross, I hope you will walk out this story with the disciples, walk out this story with Christ, walk out this story following in the way both of the Via Dolorosa and of the empty tomb, that we might enter the time of sorrows, not so that we might suffer, but so that suffering may be overcome. Walk it out. See what happens, and come to Eastertide with new eyes and new life and new joy. That's my hope for you on this Maundy, Thursday. We have a few things going on I want to make sure you know about here at church. Tomorrow we have a Good Friday concert at noon, where there are some really beautiful meditative pieces to encapsulate the solemnity of that day, of this day. And so I hope you'll be a part of that. We're going to try and live stream that tomorrow. So if you want to try and catch the live stream we have a new system here that we are working through, and if we can technically get going, we may be able to actually offer that online. So we're going to see if we can do that. 11 o'clock on Saturday, we have an Easter egg hunt, which is just the Easter egg hunt to end all Easter egg hunts. We have 2,000 Easter eggs to set on the lawn next door. Last year we had about 300 or 400 people. We expect more this year, and we're hopeful that if you want to see a spectacle of joy, if your heart hurts or you're in a funky place, come down to the Easter egg hunt, because it will cure you. What happens here, to be in that midst, and I understand if your heart hurts and you're in trouble and things are tough, it can be even more isolating to be in the midst of joy. I'm not saying it is all these things, but I also believe that submitting ourselves to be in the midst of beautiful things helps excite beauty in us too. So, and that will be a beautiful thing that happens at 11 o'clock. So, if you know a little one, have a little one in the area, come bring on down. The Easter Bunny's going to be here. We're going to have all kinds of fun. And then 10 o'clock Sunday morning, we are going to celebrate the resurrection, celebrate this great overcoming of death and loss and of Satan himself. This is what we have ahead. I look forward to speaking with you in Eastertide on next week at 11:11. Peace and grace and Easter blessings to you, my friends.